Hey guys, welcome back to Celebrate the Struggle. This is your host, Jennifer Hobbs. I have the pleasure today to be with Bobbi Jo. She's here to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and talk to us a little bit about her life, her journey, and where she's at now. So let me just give you a quick formal interview and then she can take it away. Bobbi Jo is a U.S. Navy veteran. She is the founder of Bravely Authentic, and where she is a trauma informed transformational healer. Can't wait to hear more about that. She is also a co-author of Faces of Mental Illness. So anybody that knows me or knows what this podcast is about, clearly I found the gold mine to hear from Bobbi Jo today a little bit about her journey and how her advice can help all of us listening. Hi, Bobbi Jo. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and let you take it away because I want to hear more about Trauma Informed Transformational Healer. I mean, from what I know, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what it is and what it looks like, but a lot of people wouldn't have a clue. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how do you get to where you are and what that looks like right now as a trauma-informed transformational healer. So that was a lot. That was like 5 questions in one. You just go ahead and take it. You just take it away.
Okay, so I'll address the title, honestly, to be authentic. I really don't know what title really encompasses what I do because I'm stepping into a new space that not a lot of people necessarily do. I specialize in a few energetic healing modalities, is what I'll call them. A lot of people call them quantum healing, energy medicine. There's different phrases out there. I specialize in sacred soul alignments and another healing modality called energetic allergy healing. And so I would describe it briefly as a mind, body, and soul connection, because I firmly believe through my own experiences and doing this healing work now that we have to heal the whole person, we're not just, physical body, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, where we're, just kind of let's tap into the soul and be mindful. All of that's great. But also doing the subconscious reprogramming where you're actually healing your mind. The mind changes and it, does all these things when you've experienced trauma. And a lot of the techniques that I use on the subconscious reprogramming side of it, I'm certified in NLP, emotional freedom techniques, which is tapping to release negative and beliefs on negative emotions. And people use it for things such as also for like smoking and weight loss. So it's been around for a while. A lot of people are familiar with it more in like the Tony Robbins kind of sales business coaching platform. And what I'm doing is I'm taking it, I'm putting it in with these energy modalities and really making quantum healing what it should be, as far as I'm concerned, like how it, and when I say that, how I feel that it's the space it's moving into in the collective of healers that I'm with. So if someone's out there and you're doing NLP, you're doing something similar, the person I'm learning NLP from is a business coach, but she also has the trauma informed and a different background, and she's combining her healing work as well. I do have a degree in social work. I am starting my graduate degree for marriage and family therapy. And so I have this, and I've been working with homeless veterans. And so and foster youth prior to that, as I've been working in social work. And I've just taken, basically, I would say all my learnings, all these new learnings, my own experience of healing, and the feedback and the experiences of healing with the clients that I'm working with, and really putting together, and it's very individualized, but I'm putting together these transformational healing sessions. I really believe that once you experience this, um, it it takes you to your next level and your
Mhm.
next step, and it really helps heal some. It's not like I just sit here and like I'm all poof, all right, trauma's gone, you're great,
Mhm.
like
That'd be
you
nice,
know,
yeah.
you're ready. I know, right? That'd be amazing. But it is a process. It is a healing journey, and you know, the work that I do gets people started on it, or I'm their next step to continue it at a different level. So that's part of what I do there. Um,
When did
what
that
other?
come into your life? Like, were you always kind of curious with the holistic ways, like in high school or whatever, or did it kind of come along in your healing?
So this is where I'll get a little I don't know.
Uh,
Uh,
yes,
so
comfortable with
clairvoyant.
the
Yeah, this
uncomfortable.
is where I'll get a
Mhm.
little bit clairvoyant. Um, so as I was growing up, I did have experiences which you know, old school terming would be like psychic or clairvoyant. I could walk into a room and I would just not like hear voices, but I would like think a sentence or hear something, and I would turn and I would reply to somebody, and they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Didn't you just no?" And then I'd be like, "Oh, well, that's really awkward." But like, I'm not reading minds here. I just had this thought and I just replied to it, you know. And so I would have these weird moments. I'd ask for something. There's a those of us that have seen the old school movie The Craft. She makes a
Mhm.
joke in it where she's like, "Oh, I didn't want to go to school and I asked for rain and pipes burst in my house." Like I would have stuff like that happen. Like I would ask for something, and then it would be like this over dramatic, and I'm like, really? Did we have to like? Okay. So after I got out of the military, I was introduced to this an esoteric community, and it was a sustainable community in San Diego called Blue Sky Ranch. And I didn't live on property, but I was involved with them for a little while, and it was really, you know, they helped work on any gifts, boundaries, all those things. And then from there, I found a school called Intuitive Insights, which is still in San Diego, and they're doing amazing. They have really great programs. The founder is one of the founders is from the Berkeley Psychic Institute. So it's all, I went through their clairvoyant programs, I went through women's intuition, was really able to tap into this other side of me. So it wasn't weird or different, or I wasn't weird or different about it because I
Mhm.
didn't understand it. So that's kind of how that part of me developed. Um, and then uh, I didn't really, you know, I wasn't doing readings or any of this platform at all. I would do readings for the school. We do them at the school, but it was very in my circle. I was still with a lot of my military friends who were always like, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid today." You know, they knew I was like going in and, you know, making the jokes and whatnot. Um, but I've always been connected to a lot of people that you always have those, you hear those phrases like, "Oh, we don't have to finish each other's sentences," or I've always had these just really great soul connections with people and didn't necessarily realize what they were at the time. So fast forward to now, or a few years ago. um, so in the military, and I talk about this in the book and on my social media platforms, but I had experienced my third duty station overseas. I experienced a pretty significant MST trauma, military sexual trauma. And it was, I mean, like, obviously the trauma itself was terrible, but the way the command handled it, the way everything that happened afterward was such a hot mess. The way I self-medicated with alcohol. Um, there were some other women that were affected by this person. He was on trial when it happened with me. He was on trial for another. I mean, this is how blatantly this guy was just
Wow.
like whatever, right? And and I bring that part up because there was a part of me at the time, being the personality that I am, women were coming forward that hadn't come forward privately. And they were like, not that they were glad this happened to me, but they knew me and how outspoken I was. And they were like, you know, can you let them know like this happened when I got to this duty station, or he tried this, or he had locked me in a room at this point. And I was really thinking like, this guy is gonna, you know, me and the girl who had actually brought the trial up in the first place for her rape, she was, you know, and a lot of people didn't believe her. I would say I'm excited because this person was a friend of ours in our friend group, and she wasn't. And so it was, you know, we didn't really know her that well. So compounded, there was the guilt. There was this is serious. We need to help all these people. Long story short, he didn't get convicted. Last I heard, he was a senior chief. You know how the MST circles go in the military, unfortunately. I really hope it starts changing soon, because I don't feel it has as much as a lot of us would like, based on the documentaries that are still coming out. But I hid after I left there. I mean, it was so dramatically changed my life that I hid so much. So I come to San Diego, don't tell anyone, make, you know, new friends. A lot of my friends that were stationed there when it happened, they, you know, nobody's sharing the story kind of thing. So it was very well hidden. I get out of the military, all this stuff's hidden. Even when I was doing all this healing work, I can honestly say I wasn't focused on healing this big complex, you know, big T trauma, right? And it wasn't until a few years ago, I was in a relationship and I decided that now was the time. And then I experienced a very volatile domestic violence situation, which I'd never experienced as well. So, right, you know, as I'm going for this, I had gone to the VA, gone to the PTSD clinic, was being seen. I'm like, I want to be a really good mom. I'm thinking this might be someone I'm going to marry, because I knew way prior to the military, and he was amazing. You know, no issues back then that I had that I noticed, and it wasn't. And so I just opened up this big healing box that I'd been hidden for almost 10 years. And it was very scary. They wanted me to write my story, get the benefits, you know, all the things took me. I mean, I would start writing. I could just start writing a regular sentence. It wasn't, and I would break out into panic attack. And at that time, I didn't realize what they were, right? So I'm experiencing this relationship. I'm like, why is this happening now? I listened to a lot of Abraham Hicks back then, and I still do. But I was putting a lot of, and being a social worker, I was putting a lot of blame on myself. Like, I'm attracting this vibration. I should know better. He was laying a lot of the narcissistic guilt, the gaslighting. You know, you are a social worker. You're a veteran. You know where I can get help. You know, I don't know where to go. He's crying. It was ridiculous, right? But anyways, because of all that, by the time we fled the state, and I get to Kansas City, and I was part of this. I came here to work at this veterans community project at tiny homes. They build tiny homes for veterans, and they're doing some expansion right now. So it's amazing. And I came here specifically to work at that program. And then, long story short, I'm not working there now. And at the time I left, I was kind of a mess. Like, I had been dealing with some toxic work environment. I was dealing with all of my stuff started coming up again. You know, healing the trauma. I would due to the being in a fight or fright stress mode, because that's how I know how to cope, right? That's how we learn how to cope in trauma. And at the time, I wasn't even putting these things together. I was just, you know, snapping at my kids, or not wanting to get out of bed, which I know, you know, I was like, why I'm like in the depression again, not just like, oh, I'm feeling sad today, but I'm going to move on with my day and work through it. It was literally like hopeless. It was in that hopeless state. So luckily, because I have a good support group, but I had started, this is the kind of at the beginning of being here in Kansas City, I was becoming friends with people in Wounded Warrior Project, people at Continuing Mission, Team RWB, a lot of really good veteran organizations. Being a social worker here, I was in top to some resources, and I had a couple people that I was able to reach out to and just say, like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the way I'm parenting. I'm not happy being I'm not happy with who I am. Like I'm not at the point, when I was in the relation, dealing with domestic violence, and I found out I was pregnant with my son. I got to a point where I was literally like, I'm putting my kids up for adoption. I mean, I can't keep them safe. And after I have my son, I'm gonna look for adoption, another family that can keep them safe, right? And I'm done. And I was gonna be one of the 22, basically, right? And thankfully that didn't happen. Like I said, I ended up moving locations. Unfortunately, I had a friend take his life. Actually, the day I had decided that, I got the call the next morning at 5 a.m, and it completely flipped my world. Thankfully, that's how I was able to internalize the grief and the loss and move forward. So now I'm at the space here in Kansas City, and I'm feeling the same emotion, the same hopelessness, the same, I can't, now I'm feeling trapped. Like there isn't a solution. Like I have to be here for my kids. My life is, I'm always just going to be this trauma cycle mess, right? Can't be. So I was about to start my master's program in social work. I was like, I can't even get an MSW right now. Like I'm not in the headspace to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so sure enough, I reach out, I have like go out and have coffee, a couple of people. They had just gone through this, their week cohort at the Battle Within. And it is a PTSD program here for first responders and veterans. And it's please reach out if this is something that you feel you need, if my story resonates with you. My story is very similar to a lot of people that when they came to the Battle Within, they were either attempting, this was their last chance, their last resort. They were feeling trapped and hopeless. And I will say this program has literally, it flipped my life. It completely changed it. And it really put me on this healing path, or this healing journey, as I call it. It took me, it's a 5-day, you go for 5 days during the week. And it took me till day 4 before I really had my breakthrough moment. And I talk about all my social media and stuff. But when that happened, I mean, I was in equine therapy moment. And we're in the arena, and I'm very Brene Brown, for those that are as well. You get the reference. And they actually talk, they do talk about they brought in some Brene Brown, which was a really good reminder for me as a social worker. I needed to hear the information that they were giving. And I'm literally in this arena, and she's literally like, hey, she was a social worker. She is a social worker. She's still around. She's still doing the equine part. She was like, sit down on the ground with me. And I'm like, oh my God, am I wrong, right? And all the horse stuff. But I did. And she was like, I understand. I was where you're at a few years ago. I'll just sit with you. And I almost go over. So it's completely, anyone who's seen the Brene Brown video short about empathy, I could not tell you. It was literally like the real live interactment or reenactment of it. But it's real. It's my story. It's very real. And I hadn't been able to have anyone touch me or hug me. I would hug my kids knowing I love them. I could not feel it. And next thing you know, we're standing by this horse and we're hugging, and all the emotions are coming out. At one point, she had kicked everybody out of the barn space.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around, they're all standing there. Everybody's tears running down their face. It's just a moment. And I can tell you that in that moment, I felt so much love. I was able to, like, my heart just exploded, and I was able to feel so much love. And I knew there was a psych, he's actually a marriage family therapist that gives a talk that we sit down for afterwards when we get back to the location where the retreat's held. And he said, like, how are you going to, a lot of us are in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're holding all this stuff in. We're the strong ones. We're working, we're there for other people, we're throwing ourselves into service, and we're trying to keep a normal face. You know, we have our own stigmas, especially working in mental health, about looking like you might have some mental health going on that needs addressed. And when you get home, you've kept up this mask, you've kept up this strength, you know, feel all that energy, that right? And then you get home and you're ready to just like, you're so drained, and it's not the good relaxed. And then you're giving your family your leftovers, you're giving yourself your leftovers. And I was so impacted by that day. While he was talking, I had to get up out of my chair and I was walking a little bit in the back of the room. I had to break up some of that energy. And I had tears running down my face because he was literally describing this, what I had been living in for so long. And I didn't like I didn't even realize that, you know, I didn't realize that how much I was doing just to survive my day. That when, you know, you get home from your day and you're supposed to, that's your time to relax. Like I didn't know how to relax. I would go to massages and I'm the person that they're always like, are you breathing? Can you breathe? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, take a breath. So after I did the battle within, and you come home and, you know, your life's still your life. It was really about maneuvering and finding out how I was going to, like what my next step was, where I was going to, how I was going to heal, how I was going to continue the journey, use these tools, use my background in social work for myself, like integrate how I was going to do my integration. And I want to say on Facebook, possibly, Alicia Hartzell popped into my world, and she does, she's the creator and founder of Sacred Soul Alignment. Her and Kimberly Carlson do the two healing modalities. They do one together and then they do their separate ones. And I started, honestly, because I have the background in my intuitive school and all the things, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll take this 12-week class and it'll help with my healing and I'll get back into myself and my heart space and all the things. I've been watching her videos for a couple of weeks and COVID hit. So I was like, oh, perfect. You know, I can, you know, stay in the safety of my house now. Which actually I ended up volunteering for 3 months. So I really didn't, but I started taking the certification and I didn't realize it was a certification at the time. I probably got about halfway through it. I was using the techniques on myself. I started using them with some of my friends and it's amazing. And from there, I found Erin Nicole Coaching, who does the quantum ripple effect, and she teaches all the NLP, the emotional freedom techniques, the hypnosis, the time technique. And she also does, like I said, she does Trauma Informed, which I feel is really important to work in trauma healing. So I started using, and I got Reiki Master Attuned. So I started combining all these with what I was doing, you know, as I'm learning these things, I'm doing these for myself. I was working with some of my veteran friends that were reaching out to me. Some of them are combat veterans, male, female, MST survivors as well. Other people that have had domestic violence relationships, assault relationships that they were repeating cycles. So these were people that are like, I just want a healthy relationship, or I just want to feel better. And I just started doing this work and I'm like, this is amazing. And then one day I woke up and heard very clearly, like, you need to start a healing practice. This is going to be your next step. And of course, me who had been hiding for so many years was like, I'm sorry, what? Like,
like, I didn't hear that. I'm ignoring it.
Sure. Yeah. And I have a tarot reader this outside, but the year before, right when I had left VCP, was the Veterans Screen Project, when I left VCP, she was just like, oh, you're going to write a book and you're going to, you know, be on social media. You're going to help so many people, thousands of people, all these things. And I'm like, yeah, I love you, but you're crazy. Like, I have 100 friends on Facebook in like my things on lockdown. I know every single one. Like, I don't know who you're reading for right now. And then sure enough, you know, a year and a half later, I'm in that space. And my oldest daughter, I have a foster daughter in her 20s. And she was just like, Mommy, really, this is what you should be doing. And when I was looking at a name, I had a list of words and the stuff that kept coming up because I was in a vulnerability. It was my theme with my healing theme at the time, and still is. I was being very vulnerable. I really have all Brene Brown's books, and I really follow a lot of her work, and really stepping in the space of being vulnerable, being authentic, being brave, being courageous about my journey, about who I am. And because a lot of my trauma was about being silenced and unwanted and like not helped and supported when I needed, like while I was in trauma, I was very isolated and fight or flight. I started Bravely Authentic is what I call it. And I am, it's not just a name that I thought would be really cool. It's literally how I'm on my healing journey. I'm doing this very vulnerable and very bravely authentic. I think to be on a journey and to be vulnerable, there is a part of bravery that comes with it. And I say this whether you heal privately or publicly, you have to be vulnerable. And I say have to as a social worker, I would encourage you to be so vulnerable. I'm absolutely not. I would encourage you to be vulnerable, but there's a point where you have to be. And being vulnerable with ourselves is really scary. I think it's scarier than being vulnerable with other people because you can't BS yourself, right? You have to be authentic with yourself at some point, because even if you're trying to be like, oh no, I'm okay. This knows, you're like, no, you're not. No, yeah, and that's where the talk will come in. You're fucking this up, or sorry, you're messing. Sorry about that. You're messing this up, or you've got all these, this other stuff going on, right? So part of bringing in the quantum ripple effect, the quantum healing, and using the NLP techniques, really, I needed to change a lot of my beliefs. I needed to change a lot of my subconscious reprogramming, the things I say. It wasn't just about, in social work, we talk about change talk, and we're like, oh, let's reframe that. Well, these beliefs have been in my mind for years. And this is, also to the audience, when you're running these beliefs and you're in your stigmas, or society has silenced you, or your work environment, or your peers, or if you come from the military environment, we know how the upper chain can kind of just be like, like, we've got a mission, let's go, which is great, but it's absolutely not if the other things aren't being addressed. So you can create, scientifically, you create belief systems like that. And once they start running, and they've been running for so long, that becomes who you are, whether you realize it or not. So it's really working at, there can be some simple techniques, but being intentional about changing the belief systems, letting them go, and also replacing them with new beliefs. So if I'm saying like, oh my gosh, like I'm a hot mess, or if I'm in the terms of my mental illness, if I'm just like, like I'm just so effing crazy today, or whatever, taking a minute to be like, okay, reject and delete is what a phrase one of my mentors says, or even just say, okay, hold on a second, ease and grace, take my breath, whatever I need to do, and just be like, all right, today, something's going on, and just talk myself, right? Today, something's going on. Maybe we're having a little more anxiety. Maybe it's mine. Maybe it's picking up from someone else. It's all right. We're just gonna work through it. What can we do in this moment? And it's just really letting, as silly as it sounds, I'm literally talking to myself and letting my mind hear that, no, I'm not a crazy hot, mental illness mess, right? I'm going through something right now. I'm feeling something right now. Do I know where it's coming from? If yes, then we'll work from there. If no, then ease and grace, and let's do some things to get me back to baseline, to get me feeling better. Letting my subconscious know that, subconscious, higher conscious, that we got this. You know what I mean? Like, we're just having a day. Just sit and watch it. Take a pause. Like, don't push yourself. Maybe today's not the day that you can handle going out with a bunch of people, even though you love them dearly. You know what I mean? And so, I just am using all these different techniques together to do this healing work, not just on myself, but as I'm putting them together, it's, what I'll say is when someone sits in front of me, I'm letting them know, one, you're not alone. And I will say this to whoever's going to watch this or listen, you are absolutely not alone. There's myself and there's many of us, right? And our stories don't have to be the same. And that it's okay. Like, you're okay. Literally the phrase, you're okay, not being okay, that is human. We're all human. It is perfectly okay to not be okay. It's also okay to start healing yourself and loving yourself where you're at, so you can start expanding that out to loving yourself to where you want to be, right? Like, you literally can start creating your life. And like I said, it's not like this magic one that happens. It's a process. And I still have days. I shared on a live the other, probably last week during the book launch, that I experienced during Thanksgiving break. I was experiencing really hardcore depression. But I'm at the phase now where I can go, whoa, like, this is depression, right? This is like, I feel like I don't want to get out of bed. Why? This isn't normal. This isn't my normal anymore. So what is going on? And you have more awareness to explore it. So not being afraid of feeling depression, not being afraid of having a panic attack. Do I like to have panic attacks still? No, but when I do, I would say I have less of a freak out, where before I would just be like, like, what's going on? So that's what I do. A lot of what I do is helping people normalize themselves, right? Normalize being a human, normalize having emotions, normalize having a past that you can acknowledge and validate and work through to change your future, to move forward in. So I did. Do you want me to bring up I did bring the book, Faces of Mental Illness.
Yes.
I was part of this project, and I'm really proud of it. It was really, even now I get a little nervous stepping into the space of it, because like I had mentioned, I hid my trauma for so long that, being public, then it was just like, oh, I'm live in my group, or, I can pick and choose. And now this is, we hit the bestseller list on so many categories, and it's literally worldwide. The authors are coming from different places, and it's 20 of us. And the book is called Faces of Mental Illness, and it's the journey from stigma to health. A lot of us have stories of the moments where I think a few share when they were actually attempting suicide. They got close to it. People that were sharing, they lost loved ones and literally could not function in their lives afterwards. It was such a loss. And there's different lost stories. So what I will say about this book is anybody can pick up this book, and there is a story for everyone in here that you can relate to. And I've been saying this, if I wasn't part of the book itself and someone had handed this book to me, when I got the final manuscript and I was able to read the other stories, I was crying. Like, and it was just that, like, or say I get emotional now. It was that it was that moment of just reading these stories and me feeling I'm not alone. And I say that, like I say that all the time, right? You're not alone. And I know I'm not alone. But when you're reading these stories and you're like, God, man, I remember, and I'm on the other side of a lot of it now, but it helped bring some stuff up. It was, doing this project was very, very healing for me. And so I would encourage you to read the book if you are able to pick up a copy. And the book was sponsored. So as of right now, this isn't me trying to sell the book. And the reason why I say this is that way you're knowing I'm coming from an authentic place of, if you're going to pick up the book, I think it's like $15. I'm not, right, as of this moment, I'm not making money off this book at all. I was part of this project that came together. The book was sponsored, and we're more concerned with getting the book out there to as many people as possible, right? And then I'll go ahead and buy my bulk purchase and probably start giving it gifts, because that's how I am. but there isn't, they're looking for new authors as well. So Faces of Mental Illness, and they're going to be covering the topic of anxiety. So if you have a story and you think you might want to share, or you're ready to share, or you're part of, you've shared before, you have your own books or your own platforms, I would encourage you to reach out to the authors. Samantha Ruth is one of them. She has a podcast as well called Be Ruthless, and she lost her husband, and she has a platform called the Grief Lab. I'm pretty sure it's the Grief Lab. So you can reach out to her directly and find out about how about being an author in the next book. But all the women that put this together come from Jack Canfield's mentorship program, and he did the Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he did the foreword for our book. And Kate Butler Publishing. Kate Butler's also in the book, and she has an Inspired Impact series, and it's a series with women who are in different topics, who are moving through their stories as well, and helping to impact others. And I just signed for the next book, Women Who Dream, and I'm really excited about that, because I feel like it's going to be coming from a place that I am at now, on the other side of some of the trauma healing that I've done. And I don't know, I really, what I've learned, I think, in the past few months, and having the panic attack a few weeks ago, and feeling the depression a few weeks ago, and I did a lot of traveling this summer, spiritual traveling, and now I'm calling it kind of like I had a sabbatical, and I ended up coming in contact with family that I hadn't seen in like 20 years, and I was in foster care and all things, so there's some childhood trauma going on there, but I was able to address it. And I think what it did, especially what happened around Thanksgiving break, it really reminded me of where I started from. And I want to use the word started, because I'm still going through my layers. But where I started at for this particular journey, that what I just talked about, coming into the battle within, and moving forward with the healing modalities and all the things after hiding trauma for so long. And being in the domestic violence relationship, none of my friends knew what was going on. This was someone that I had dated years and years before, never thought anything was, I really thought this was we came together and it was going to be my picket fence relationship, I was going to heal my trauma now, to be a better person, all the things. And I feel like a lot of times you hear this theme of people not feeling stuck financially, they can't get out of relationships, or they can't move out of their space, they can't quit their jobs, they don't know how to change, or it's feeling like it's too hard, or they're failing at even healing, they're failing at trying to heal, right? A lot of us, that's our struggle, is we're like, well, I tried this technique, or no, I meditated this morning, like, why am I, why do I need to take a Xanax, or why did I just snap at my kid for spilling a cereal, you know what I mean? Like, you have these moments, and it really just brought me back to being in that, where I started from again, which I think is super important, because I need to meet people as a healer, right, where I'm at now, and as a social worker, I know this, I just needed the reminder, I need to meet people where they are, and the message that I really want to say is, wherever you are is wherever you are. If you're on the other side of the journey and you're like, hey, Bobbi Jo, I want to move in my next step, like, I think I'm going to be a healer too, or I'm ready to switch jobs, and you don't have to be at rock bottom to start your healing journey. I'm in a healing journey, hero's journey myself right now too. It's just that it's just different. But if you're in that, there is a way out, right? We always have choice. There is always a way, even when you just have to start allowing yourself to, how do I say this to someone? How would I have said this to myself? And I don't even think I would have believed it at the time necessarily, right? but just allowing yourself to some hope, allowing yourself to believe that there could be something else, allowing yourself to know that you're watching me, or you're hearing someone else's story, or you're reading a story in anybody's healing book. There's so many authors out there. I know you have a book as well. When you're reading these stories, that it's not someone else's life. It is, but this could be your life too. You can have this same story in a few years, right? And make some small changes, reach out for support. Whatever it is that you need to do, you don't have to do this alone. In the relationship that I was in with the domestic violence, after my friend took his life, and we're all on the phone that day, and everybody's crying and all these emotions, and I started, people are like, we didn't even know you were out of San Diego, like you're in Kansas City, like what are you doing? And or I was in Salt Lake City, sorry, at the time. They're like, what do you mean you doing? I thought everything was going great. And as soon as I started sharing with my friends what was going on, it literally was almost just like taking a breath of air, like as if I was in the ocean, and I kept trying to, I'd catch some breaths, but I was back underwater, and I'd catch a little bit, I'm trying to reach out a hand, and nobody was there. And then all of a sudden, by sharing with my friends, I just started small, just with my close, trusted friends, they were there, right? And they helped me get out of it. I was able to reach out to some programs, some resources. At that time, it was the crime victims unit, because there was a trial and stuff going on. He had felony charges against him, and they were able to help us with funding to flee the state. Literally, we were able to set up everything under a pseudo name, the traveling, the moving truck, like everything came together. Thankfully, I left with $300 in the bank account. It's this crazy story, right? But I had to allow myself that hope. Like, okay, I want to change. I want my life to be different. I want to be out of this situation. That you pray, set your intention, do your ask, have whatever phrasing you want to use. But I was asking from here that I'm not happy. What can I do? When I was here in Kansas City, and I was at my PTSD low, hopeless moment, with all the symptoms going. It was like I was just this big PTSD symptom bomb. I literally was, I met with my friend, crying my eyes out, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I need help. I don't, I have all these resources around me. I have support around me right now, and I still feel like I don't know what to do. But that one conversation, and then, my friends who went through this week, and I saw them sharing with me as well, their healing journey, part of it getting started. And I was like, wait, what is this? So one, it's allowing yourself to step into the space of healing, allowing yourself to get out of the situation that you're unhappy with, even if you don't know how, right? Just doing the big ask is what I call it. Saying your prayers, asking the universe, have the intentions, allowing your mind to believe that there is a way for you to do it, right? And then when you get to the point where you can share, even if it's in small groups, I would say publicly or privately, start sharing it, because you never know who you're going to help, who is listening, that you don't even know the healing ripples, right? You don't even know what ripples of healing you are creating for that person. When I heard about this week that my friend went through, I didn't even really, he was just, gone, and we were messaging and the whole thing, and I was supporting him during it and being a good friend. And then I realized, I'm like, wait a second, like, what is this? And then I realized that not only him, but I think at the time I realized like 5 of my other friends that I knew from Wounded Warrior Project had gone through this Battle Within program as well. And I was like, oh, and I reached out to one of my female veteran friends, and she was just like, absolutely. And so I went on there, clicked on there, applied, on a Thursday, got a call on a Friday, and he's like, we have a cohort on Monday and we have a spot that opened up. Do you want it? And I said, yes. I was terrified. I was like, absolutely not. Like, there's gonna be people that want to like me to talk, and like they might touch me or try to hug, I was like, wow. And I will say there were a few of us. We had a girl that I love her. We had a girl that went that was in the cohort with me. She is a Army veteran, and the other one, the other veteran I went through, a Marine veteran, and they were literally like booking flights. Like they were literally like, we're gonna leave. Like Tuesday, we're gonna leave. Wednesday morning, we're not gonna stay. You know what I mean? But we all stayed, right? But and so even if you have that, like just allowing yourself to stay. And now, you know, a lot of us are, you know, I started a healing practice. There's another group that started a art therapy, and they're part of the coalition. And now there's a coalition. So after you go through your week, we have other partnerships that we have you go through a 90-day equine program afterwards for support. There's a health and wellness and mindset at one of the local CrossFit gyms. It's all nonprofit programs, all funded and supported by sponsors. These aren't VA programs, they're all private funding, private donors. So it helps take away the stigma, and everything is private too. So it's not like, you know, anybody knows what's going on or why you're there. That's all kept within the cohort. So
yeah, sounds amazing. I've kind of been just kind of in awe since you started talking. So I apologize for being so quiet, but there's just, you know, the reasons that I told you prior to the call of why I started this podcast. Like your story is just, it's just making me sit and listen, because this is exactly why I wanted to have a podcast, to be able to share those stories and be vulnerable and go to that space, give it its space. And so much of what you're saying, fortunately, like I have gotten to a place in my life where I can sit here and nod and be like, yes, absolutely, reject and delete and rewrite
yes,
that situation.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately,
reframe for the new beliefs.
And unfortunately, everyone's not there. So I hope that people will hear that and just take that away and understand that, like, you know, we're in charge of, not to let our past define us, and that we're in charge of what goes on from here. And I feel like you nailed it with the title of your LLC, Bravely Authentic. Like, honestly, like when I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great name. But like when you dive in and you like think about what it truly means, and you think about your story from, you know, childhood things that you briefly mentioned, and then MST, military sexual trauma, and then domestic violence, and even there, like, you know, like the loss of your friend and stuff, like life will continue to take from you, and for you to just use that and your growth that you've gone through to help other people is amazing. And so to sit there and bravely authentic, like that takes a lot of courage to be brave with your story, and to sit there and own it and be honest with people, to say like, hey, like I'm still me. Like I still some days don't want to get out of bed. Some days it takes everything in me to get out of bed. Or even just 2 weeks ago, I had the biggest panic attack. So to let people know that, like, even once you go through this, you start on your journey, the journey continues for a lifetime, and it's going to be okay. And it's okay to not be okay at those times when you are not. So Bravely Authentic is definitely like the perfect title for that. And I will make sure I put it in the show notes where people can get faces of mental illness. And if they want to stalk you, again, I'll put it in the show notes. But how can they stalk you, Bobbi Jo, and kind of keep up with your words? Like you said, you're pretty active on your social media. So like someone could go and plug in, listen to what you have to say, and that might help them that day. And to me, if you just, you know, if it just helps one person, it's so worth it, right? I mean, because take, for example, if that one person was me or you at a certain place in our life, we wouldn't be here right now having this conversation if something hadn't happened that helped one person. So how can we stalk you?
Okay. So I am changing from one website platform to another. So a little ease and grace with that. But it's bravelyAuthenticLiving.com. And you can go on there right now. I do have The one-on-one sessions are 50% off for holidays. But you can go on and book a session because I am changing platforms and I'm not a tech person by any means. I am learning. That's my reframe. I am learning how to do tech better. If you go to book and there's an issue, please message me is what I will say right now. Don't give up. Please message me. That's not a sign that you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
It's just the website. And I am on Facebook and Instagram. I do have YouTube, but there's maybe like 3 people on there. It's probably my daughter and my other thing. Yeah, right. So I haven't really set up that platform yet, but Facebook and Instagram for sure. It's Bravely Authentic. I think the tag is Bravely Authentic Living as well. I try to keep it uniform. And one of the things I wanted to say, just validating and honoring you and what you're doing and why I said yes to the ask when you put the ask out there is that honestly, I'm sorry, I don't know what your background is. I know I mentioned I have a degree in social work or whatever, but we're everyday people, right? We're military veterans. We are, and you said your husband as well as part of your book. And I just want to put that, like, we're not sitting here, I'm not, and I love Joe Dispenza's work, Dr. Joe, like amazing, right? But like, I'm not Deepak Chopra. I'm not Oprah, I'm not Brene Brown. I'm literally just your quote unquote unaverage, right? We're not going for my empowerment. And so are you, right? And we're just like,
Yes.
Look, we're everyday people that were going through some struggles, that we have similar backgrounds, and we feel like in our community, especially in the veteran first responder community, there are a lot of people that have similar backgrounds and are struggling with similar symptoms and some similar mental, you want to use the word mental illnesses or mental struggles, right? I think it's amazing that you are doing this podcast, and I would encourage anyone that wants to dive into sharing a little bit of a story to contact you as well, because when this popped up, it popped up right at the book launch, and I was like, why don't I have anything scheduled, or why don't I have anything at a different, like at this point in my life? I've just done this whole sabbatical. Like, I should be doing more podcast interviewing right now, or sharing a little bit more. So just thank you for what you're starting. Thank you for having me on here. And like I said, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I do post stuff on my personal page as well. That's if it's public, you can see it, kind of thing. And you're welcome to message me if you have any questions about working with me, or if you have any questions about the programs that I have mentioned. The Battle Within is also mentioned in the book, and the healing modalities that I do. If you want to look at any certifications or check into those, just let me know.
Yeah, and we will make sure to put the Battle Within and that information also in the show notes. Thank you for the kind compliment. I appreciate it. And once again, thank you, Bobbi Jo, for coming to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.